Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. My name is Martin Zugec. I'm working as a senior architect for the technical marketing team, and today I will be talking about Citrix Optimizer. I'm one of the developers. I am responsible for the PowerShell engine, and I'm also responsible for the templates. We also have a team in Nanjing, China, responsible for creating the user interface, and they are also managing the official Citrix marketplace. You might be surprised to see a topic like Citrix Optimizer at conference like Citrix Converge, which is primarily focused on developers, coders, and scripters. But Optimizer is actually more like a configuration framework rather than a simple optimization tool. So today I'm going to show you how you can use Optimizer, how you can customize it, how you can extend the available templates for your own use, and also how you can build completely new templates that are not limited to operating system optimizations, but they can do a lot more. At the end, we are also going to discuss how you can share this template with your colleagues, for example, so how you can create a private marketplace for your company, or also with wider communities, so how you can use one of the public marketplaces that we have available. The first optimization or customization that we are going to do today is the most basic one, and at the same time, the one that most of you or most of our customers are probably going to do. And that is take one of the existing templates provided by Citrix and modify it a bit based on your requirements, based on your environment. Maybe there are a couple more registry changes that you would like to make, maybe disable some services, and so on. Again, this is very standard stuff. We will start by taking one of the Citrix templates and modifying it. And to make it, we are going to use the feature that is called Template Builder. We will start with the template, let's say 2004, the latest one. And when we open it in Template Builder, you might notify that the save option is not available. And anytime when we make something like this, we do provide the help. So just put the mouse on it, wait a second, and it's going to tell you what's exactly the problem. We spent a lot of time trying to make this contextual help available everywhere. So the problem in this case is that you cannot save this template because it's officially from Citrix. Citrix is author for all our templates. We include a signature inside the template to prevent you from the tampering with it. So step number one, you have to take this as a template and save it under your own name. So I'm going to call this custom windows. I'm going to specify that I'm the author. By the way, if I try to enter Citrix, you can see that we are doing the check for this name actually. So the usage is restricted. And I'm going to give it new file name under here. Now, at this moment, you can see that we switch to this new template. Save option is immediately available, and now I can make any changes that I want. First thing that I'm going to do is I know that I'm not going to use these optional components at all, so I can completely remove this, easy. I know that the maintenance tasks, I can keep this one, but these two are taking too long. Now, there are two different types of checkboxes that you can see here on the screen. One is inside the box, and this defines the behavior if this optimization is selected by default when you execute this template. One is outside of the box, and this is the one that we use only in the template builder to select multiple optimizations, so you can move them, rename them, copy them, whatever you want. Now, these two optimizations, I know they are a bit slow. I don't want them, so I just, again, select them, remove item. So this was basic manipulation. It's pretty obvious. What you can do is that you use this menu on the right side where you can edit this entry, you can delete it, you can clone it, or you can move it to another group. This is what we call group on the left side. Another option, if you need to manipulate with multiple, you can use these checkboxes and use these menu items that you have on this side. Another thing is if you need to manipulate with the group itself, here you have options on the top. So let's delete this group completely. So this was basic manipulation with the entries that we already have as part of the template. Now I'm going to show you how you can add new entries that were not there before. There is an option here that is called New Item. When you click on it, you are going to see this special view with two parts. On the left, you have all the settings that are related to Optimizer in general. No matter which plugin you're going to use, this is always going to be the same. On the right side, this is empty at the moment, you are going to see configuration related to the plugin that you've selected. Easiest way how to show you this is I will just select something simple, for example, service. And as you can see, this immediately changed and it's asking me specify the service name and specify the desired state that you would like to use. Again, I would like to mention this. We spend a lot of time making sure that help is available everywhere you need it. So if you don't know what should be the service name to use here, is it display name? Is it the service name or what exactly it is? Just look at this option. It is going to tell you, it is always going to give you some tips and hints how to do it. Now, when we were trying to make this easier to use, also for us as well as our customers, we wanted to include something that we called plugin helper. It's this button called select on the side. When you click on the plugin helper, we are going to show you visually all the services that are running on the current machine that you have. And then it's very easy for you, because you can also use this filter, to just find the one that you want to disable. Let's say it's this one, and you can either do double click or select this button. After that, this is automatically filled in. So you don't have to care about the syntax. You don't need to think if it is the display name, whatever it is. You just select it from the list and it's done. Now I need to specify the name and description. And here I can choose again if it's going to be selected by default or not. So in this case, this name got nothing to do with service name. It's the name as we are going to see it in the user interface and in reporting. So I can call it whatever it is. In this case, I usually like to use display name in here and the real service name here. Okay, so this was easy. If I scroll to the bottom of the list, I can see that this entry has just been added, including description and everything else. So this was fairly simple. Now, as I was saying, we try to make sure that for most of these plugins, the helper is going to be available. So for example, schedule task, the same thing. You see all of them on this local machine. When you select it, we make sure that this syntax is the right one and everything is done good. The same, for example, for the UWP, you want to remove some built-in applications. Just click on this list. It will show you everything that is installed here. You can see that this image has been, but again, you don't really need to think about the syntax. You just click, select from the menu, save, and you are done. Now, there are a few exceptions to this one. In the second part, we will talk a lot more about the PowerShell. So in this part, I'm going to talk about registry. For registry, you always need to specify the key, which is location, item name, item value, and item type. And you can then also specify if you want to maybe delete value or delete the whole key that you've specified. Now, for this, we didn't build the helper function. We wanted to, but it was actually a lot of work, and it was not very clear, like, do we want to spend do we want to spend so much time developing this feature that's not going to be used by that many people? So what we did instead is we wanted to make sure that this feature, changing the registry value, is actually going to be very easy to use. So there is a lot of built-in logic to make it easier for you. One feature that I really like personally, because it makes my life easier, is that anytime when you are dealing with this plugin type and you are specifying the location of the key, you don't really need to think about the syntax. Is it HKey local machine or HKey LM? All that you need to do is open the registry editor, locate the key that you want to change, click on copy key name, and this is the syntax that we are using in Optimizer. So you can just paste it and you are done. So here that we do Optimizer test, and it's going to be value type, I don't know, keyword, and it's going to be value 1. Now, there are a couple of interesting notes here. First of all, you can use HK local machine, but you can also call this HKLM. Both of them are going to work. So we have a lot of code that is doing the conversion in different format and syntax that you might use. The same, for example, here, this could be 0x1, it can be 1, and we can automatically like make the conversions here. Generally speaking, what is going to work for you is anything that is visible in the registry editor, exactly the same way you should be able to configure it in Optimizer. So this is especially important. I don't think I have good example. This is especially important. I don't think I have good example here. But when you are dealing with the D-word values and you are not sure is it decimal, yeah, I don't have any good example here. When you are deciding is it decimal value or is it hexadecimal, octal, just write whatever you see in the registry editor, and Optimizer should be smart enough to take care of that. Okay, so again, selected by default, and I'm all done. So my registry test has been simply added. Okay, now talking about this example, I would like to talk to you about 2 bits of information, and you've seen already one of those, and that is you build your custom template. Now you would like to integrate them or any kind of software development tool that you are using. What is the best way to do it? What is the best way to do something like this generally with Citrix Optimizer? And I've wrote a blog post about this recently, but I think it's a good time to talk about this. What you can see if you have a look at the templates is that all official Citrix templates are following the naming convention. It's always Citrix as a vendor, it's always the version of the Windows, and it's the build of the Windows whenever available. There is actually a reason why we are doing this way, and it's because Optimizer, and this applies to PowerShell and user interface as well, can actually parse the templates. And the result is, for example, here, and you can see that on my system, and this is Windows 10 build 2004, Optimizer can immediately recommend this is the template that you should be using. So let's say that you are using SCCM and you have, I don't know, 5 different Windows 10 builds that you have to support. Do you need to have multiple if then else statements, or do you need to have multiple conditions when to run Optimizer? Simpler method is when you are defining source or the template, you can enter a value called auto-select. And when you type in auto-select, what you can see at the top is template was not specified. I'm turning on auto-select mode. I'm trying to find the best template for prefix Citrix_Windows, and the template has been detected. So as you can see, Optimizer has been able to find this template for 2004 automatically, and I didn't need to manually specify use template with this file if operating system is this. Let's say that I take this template and I delete it. So there is no template available for the current operating system and the build. And let's try to run it again. And what is going to happen this time, again, let's wait to finish. What is going to happen this time is preferred template was not found using fallback mode. Template detected using previous operating system build. So what happened is that Optimizer engine will automatically select the last good known template, which is for the Windows 1909. And we've designed the Optimizer to be able to run in scenarios like this. So for example, if it would like to disable service and that service doesn't exist on the current Windows, that operation is successful because the goal was to make sure that it's not running, and it doesn't matter if it's disabled or if it just doesn't exist. So it's perfectly safe to run the old builds or old templates on new operating systems, because anything that no longer exists, Optimizer is able to handle that without any problems. Now, we are talking about integration. Again, for me, the big part of integration is how do you always make sure that the best template is being used? For that, we use auto select mode. The second question is, after you optimize the operating system, how can you find out if it was successful operation or if it failed? Now, we provide you with a couple of different options. The more advanced one is the logs folder is always created for every single operation that you've done. And what you can see here is that there is always an XML file. And this XML file contains all the details about the execution that was just done. At the end of this XML file, we always include something that we called run_status. And this is the summary of the execution. So if you just want to quickly find out, was this execution successful or not, you just look for run successful, which can be true or false. And this is going to tell you if it was successful or not. So the first method is that you can go to all the log files, find the latest one, and just figure out if it was successful or not. Another thing much easier to do is that the last execution being saved in a registry in the same location. So if you are using tools such as, I don't know, again, can be SCCM or Control Up or something, and you want to remotely detect if the image has been optimized or not, you can look for this location in a registry, HKLM software, Citrix Optimizer, and then category. So this you can use whatever category you want. Our templates are by default OS optimizations. And here you can find information about the last execution. So I see, again, I'm looking for the run successful. Yes, this image that I'm on has been successfully optimized. And this was actually done, oh my God, this was done a while ago. So yeah, a couple of months. So again, to summarize what we've been talking about, it's very easy to take one of existing templates, just modify it based on your environments. And when you are taking these customized templates or the default Citrix template, if it makes sense, the way how you implement this is that you can use the auto select mode, which by the way supports the custom templates as well. So you just need to give your templates the right name to enable this mode. And then when you are trying to find out if it was successful or not, the easiest way is just look at registry at this location and you can easily find that information. And now we can get to the second part that is more exciting for me personally, and that's kind of the more advanced templates and more advanced use cases of Citrix Optimizer. And a lot of the things that I'm going to talk and I'm going to explain and cover today, I don't believe they've been ever presented before, not by me. Now, what we are going to do is that as I was saying before, Optimizer is another tool that was designed only for operating system optimizations. There is potentially a lot more that you can do. So we go to Template Builder again. I'm going to click on New Template, and I'm going to call this template App Protection Policies Checker. Use this template to check if app protection policies are working. Again, my name is Martin, and I'm going to stop here just for a second because there is something called supported modes, and I was kind of avoiding this before because it's related to more advanced conversation. Supported modes allows you to specify different modes that your template can run in. And we do this on a template level, we do this on a group level, we do this on entry level. So you can get very granular saying this whole template supports only analyze mode or only execute mode, or this whole template supports everything, but some groups are working only in analyze mode, which is the read-only mode. Now, I'm creating the template that is called checker. So what is expected here is that this template will never even try to make any changes. It's just going to kind of look at your environment and give you recommendation. So I'm going to unselect the execute, and I'm going to unselect the rollback, and I'm going to keep the analyze mode only. So let me create new group. I'm going to call it app protection policies checks. Okay, copy paste, copy paste, copy paste. This is going to be the same, and there will be only one optimization here. So I'm going to select the service protection policies engine. I'm going to make sure this is selected by default. For supported mode here, what we are doing is that when you enable the mode on the template level, it's going to be disabled. It's going to be configured the same on the group and entry level. So because I already disabled it on the template level, that means if I do 50 optimizations here, I don't have to select it every single time. It's the parent node that kind of inherits all the settings from. So if it's template, all the groups are going to inherit it, and within all the groups, all the entries are going to inherit it again. Now, here I'm going to do something special, and it can be hidden to many people. So there are kernel drivers in Windows 10 that are actually behaving a lot like services. They are actually exposed as a services. And one of these services, kernel drivers, that we have is called Entry Protect Driver. And this is actually the app protection policy kernel driver that we are using. So what I'm doing by this is that I'm just making sure that this service kernel driver is always running. It's in automatic mode. And I cannot use the helper in this case because helper provides you with access to services, but it doesn't show you the kernel drivers. It's kind of the hidden functionality or hidden tweak in the optimizer itself. So at this moment, I'm all done. I can give name to my new template, and we can try it together. Oh, I forgot to change the category, should be different, doesn't really matter. And what you can see is that because I was configuring the supported modes, there is only analyze button here. So the PowerShell engine, the UI, all of this is aware of this supported mode. So when you disable execute, the UI is also going to change. So all that I need to do now is that, oh, yes, I know why. And this is actually correct. So here in HTML report, I can see app protection policies engine. This service was not found, so the app protection policies are disabled on this machine, which is actually correct because I don't have it installed here. If I would have it installed, the HTML report is going to be all green and it's going to tell me app protection policies are enabled. So what I showed you is that in a couple of minutes, I was able to build the custom template that can validate if app protection policies engine from Citrix is working on this machine or not. So you can use Optimizer also to build, for example, best practices analyzer. You can build tools that are not making changes, they are just looking in your environments and giving you recommendations, for example. Or of course, you can build tools that are actually making some changes. I'm going to show you one more example of advanced usage, and I will do something that I actually do a lot for my own templates. And when I install new Windows, I have a couple of templates that I use. The templates, they are downloading, installing all the software, making configuration changes, applying some security fixes and security hardening on my images. So I'm going to try to build together with you today a simple template that is going to download and install, let's say, paint.net. Okay, so I'm going to call this software installation. There's also going to be a description, and it's going to be under my name. So we can use the same names. We will keep all these modes available at the moment. Now I have the template and the group created. So let's start with working on the code. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to switch to Powershell Code, Powershell plugin. And PowerShell gives me a lot of flexibility. Anything that I can do in PowerShell, I can do in PowerShell inside Optimizer. As a benefit, I'm getting all the error handling, HTML reporting, and so on. All the features that we have are going to be available. Now, the way how the PowerShell code works in Optimizer is that it expects your code to return two global variables. We could have very long discussion about why we are using global variables. Long term, it's my output from the functions. That would be for another discussion for another time. So right now, what we are going to do is just use simple PowerShell code. Let me think. We will say application name is paint.net. Then what I'm going to do is that I will start by defining two global variables. One is going to be the result. The second one is going to be called details. The first one is simple true or false value. This identifies is if our PowerShell code has been finished successfully or not. Now, what I like to do whenever I'm writing the code like this, I'm Eastern European, so we are always kind of pessimistic, negative. I take the same approach in coding, and I like to think that it's kind of advantage for me. I always write a code that expects to fail. So for example, I start writing the code like this. First statement is saying this failed, and the rest of the code will try to prove it otherwise, instead of saying on the first line, this is successful unless I tell you otherwise. So what I'm going to do is I like to use Chocolatey software for the package management. If you are not familiar with this, Chocolatey is very simple command line interface that allows you to download and install applications. Very, very easy to use. And what Chocolatey does is anytime when it installs the software, there is going to be a local folder that is used for it. And we can try to look at that folder on this machine. There is global variable called Chocolatey install that is going to take you to installation. And there is, if I'm not mistaken, subfolder called lib. And as you can see, this is new operating system, so there is nothing installed. So what I'm going to do here is that I will add a code that's going to use test path Chocolatey install. It's going to look inside the lib, and it's going to try to find okay, so it's going to look into this variable that we just confirmed that exists. It's going to look into subfolder called lib, and it's going to find a subfolder called app name, my variable. So it's going to find a subfolder called paint.net. And if this exists, it's true, then what it's going to do is that it will tell Citrix Optimizer that the result is true, the result is okay, because software app name is installed. So this one is fairly easy to do. I'm going to call this installed paint.net. I can use the same description. And now what we can do here is we have an option that is called run code. And when you click on this, this PowerShell code that we have here is going to be executed, and Optimizer is going to tell us what it can see. So for example, it's going to be false, and details, it's going to say software paint.net is not installed. So this is very easy way when you are writing the code, you can just easily check like, does it work or not? Okay. I'm not going to do analyze mode here. I'm first going to switch on the execute. So these are the 3 different modes that you have. Let me think what will be the execute like. So I'm going to start with the same code. I can just copy and paste this one. And here what we will do is, this is the same, this is the same. Here we will need to add one more line. That's all that needs to be done. And on that line, we are actually going to install the package. So let's say execute choco upgrade app name, yes. Okay. For those of you familiar with Chocolatey, I'm using upgrade. The way how upgrade behaves is that if application doesn't exist, it will download and install it. If it already exists and its current version, then it will just let it be. If it's already installed an older version, it is going to automatically upgrade this. But as you can see, all that I'm doing here is very easy. Again, pessimistic approach. So I'm starting by saying this failed. Then I'm doing some operation. Then I'm checking what was the result. Does it exist now or not? And I'm going to report, yes, this exists only if it was installed. Again, in case there is something, some unusual scenario to fail and try to prove it otherwise. That's just the way how I do my coding. Finally, let's go back to the rollback. So the rollback mode is when you want to pretty much reverse what you were doing. This can be presentation on its own. The rollback is actually very complex. So for anything related to services, registry, and so on, we are actually saving a lot of information about what was changed. So we roll back exactly to how it was before. With PowerShell code, that's not simply possible because the PowerShell code can be anything. So we kind of expect you to write your own rollback code, or if you don't want to do it, you can always uncheck the rollback saying this particular optimization doesn't support the rollback. In this case, I'm actually going to write it. So the syntax is very simple, very similar. I just need to revert the logic. So what I'm doing here is that, again, false by default. The failure is software is installed. Here I'm going to check, and if the path doesn't exist, okay, test path is fault. Then I say this is okay because the software has been uninstalled. Perfect. So I just saved it. And as you can see, I have one code for analyze, look if the folder exists, another fault. I have another code to execute. If it doesn't exist, install it. and then I have another code for the rollback, uninstall, and check if it was removed or not. So I'm going to save this template with name app installation, and we can finally get to do some testing. Okay, software installation. So let's start by analyze. And as you could see before, this is not installed. So the analyze is telling me software paint.net is not installed. So this is unchecked, which is correct. Perfect. Let's try to click on optimize this time. So what is happening now is that we are actually downloading and installing paint.net. So this is probably going to take a little bit longer, of course. All the logic, everything is handled by the Chocolatey itself. So for me, what I was showing you was the live code demonstration, how I would do it. A couple of things, of course. I would do this differently in production. I would add a lot more logic about checking, for example, the error levels if the installation finished, making sure that the code is handling the situation where it already exists or doesn't exist, and so on. But for the demo purposes, I think this works pretty well. So let's give it a few more seconds. I think it's almost done now. Yeah, while we wait, again, Chocolatey is the biggest package manager that I'm aware of on Windows. So I really like to use it. And for me, my templates that I'm using on my own personal machines, so not for production environments, just for my own usage, I have like 50 different and configured automatically, and it just works out of the box. And I can easily scan any of my machines to find out which of my favorite software is already installed and which one I still need to download or execute. Okay, so as you can see at this moment, the installation is finished. I can have a look at the log file. I can see success. The template has been processed successfully. Software paint.net is installed. So if I don't believe this, I can click on Analyze again. And as you can see, this time Analyze is saying template has been processed successfully and we are all done. If I try to have a look at the paint.net, you can see recently added, this has been installed. Now, let's say that I would like to make more changes. I'm not happy with install.net only. So what I can do is that I can easily clone it. I can select edit on this clone. I'm going to do, what do I usually install? VLC, for example. This is simply copy and paste VLC. Here, this is the reason why I'm using variable at beginning, because it's very easy for me to just update it like this. And I'm all done. Again, while I'm writing the code, I can just click on run code and see VLC is not installed. Okay, I will do one more. Let's say that I am going to do, what else? Visual Studio Code, which is something that I was installing today. So that's why I know that it is called VS Code. If you don't know where I'm getting this value from, you go to Chocolatey website and you can easily search for all the packages that are published there, or you can choco install list command, and that one is going to tell you that one as well. So here I have Visual Studio Code VLC paint.net. I can click on Analyze. You can see this is installed, this is not installed. If I want to install the software, all I need to do, I just click on Optimize. And from this moment, it is up to Chocolatey to download and install everything that I have on this list. Now, it is very important, while this is running, I can talk to you a bit. It's very important to remember all the PowerShell code that you are using in Optimizer, you should always specify these two global variables, the result and the details. The result is the most important. This is what is telling Optimizer this PowerShell code has executed successfully or not. Details allows you to give more details. So another example how my production code would look different here is when I run analyze mode, I'm just checking if it exists. In production, I would check, is it current, does it exist? Is it already installed? And if yes, is it current version or is there update available? And if there is update available, I will display it as a false. So that would be one of the changes I would do. If you've been wondering where did I get actually the Chocolatey from? Chocolatey installation, I installed Chocolatey before. So again, this is just an example that I'm showing you. This PowerShell code could do whatever you want. It could be something completely unrelated. Again, one example of how I'm personally using Optimizer is that I use it to configure my own desktop. And part of that configuration is the Chocolatey installation. So that's why I decided to use it as my example. Okay, you can see during this live demo, I just installed Visual Studio Code, I just installed VLC and Paint.net. What I'm doing to the Chocolatey, that's the upgrade part, is I'm checking if there is any new version available for installation that I can do. And you can see VLC is installed, Paint.net is installed, and Visual Studio Code has been installed as well. So there is one final thing that I would like to show you for this section. And that is, I was talking about the Chocolatey and I was talking about how I installed it before. And you might be wondering, so if Chocolatey is not installed, all of this is what's going to crash and burn. And for scenarios like that, I can actually do something special because Optimizer supports conditional processing. And maybe you noticed that before. So in this case, I'm going to do this on the group level. You can do this on item level. So there is edit condition here. You can do this on the group level. So there is condition here. Or you can do this on a template level. There is condition here. And even maybe actually better is to do this on a template level. So what I'm going to say is that here is the condition. The Chocolatey needs to be installed. And if this condition is not met, I don't want you to actually run this template. So the condition is using, again, PowerShell. Condition can be any PowerShell code as long, again, as it is returning the two global variables that I'm interested in. Again, the best way is you just look at this info box and it's going to tell you all that you need. So in this case, it is global Citrix OE. This is underscore condition. And the second part is going to be condition message. So again, I'm going to be pessimistic. So I will start by saying this failed. Chocolatey is not installed. And then I'm going to add some additional logic checking if it's really the case or not. So if test path yeah, it can be actually as easy as this. So what I'm doing is that I'm looking if this variable exists, and if it exists, okay, Chocolatey is installed. Yeah, now thinking about it, this is all the filter that I need. So what I'm saying is, if this variable exists, Chocolatey install, that means that Chocolatey is installed and the condition of this filter is going to be true. again, I have an option to run the code, and I can see here chocolate is installed. There is also condition failed message here. What it allows me to do is that instead of, for example, specifying the code here chocolate is not installed, what to do when the condition is false, I could just copy and paste this text here. So yeah, I can actually show you that. So I can just use this. And anytime when this condition fails, so I can just use this. And anytime when this condition fails, this is the message that is going to be displayed. The reason why we do this is, let's say that you are looking for some super specific value somewhere on the file system. The error message, the failed message would be file not found, which doesn't tell you anything. So instead of showing file not found in the log file, what you can do instead is that you can show the friendly message saying this required component is not installed on this machine. Okay, so now I can easily save this, and you will see the special icon here, meaning there is condition applied to this template. When you click on it, you can review the condition. And all that we are doing now is that we are just checking for this variable. Let's say that I rename it to fake variables, something that doesn't really exist. And I can show you what's going to happen when I try to run this template. This is going to fail. Execution stopped by template condition. Chocolatey not installed. And again, conditions, you can apply conditions to templates, you can apply conditions to groups, and you can apply conditions to specific entries. So that's all about the custom modifications to the template. And let's get to the finale. Let's talk about how you can share these new templates that you created with your colleagues. Now we can get to the last part. So you spent all this time, you created a bunch of amazing templates, and you would like to share it with your colleagues, with your team. Maybe you would like to share it with internet and with all the other people that are using Citrix Optimizer. Now, what's the best way how you can share the templates? Of course, you can use any file transfer method. You can use FTP server or send it by email. But we do have a concept that is called template marketplace. So it's available in the user interface. And when you open this, the only thing that you are going to see by default is official Citrix marketplace with all the templates. But you can also create third-party or add third-party marketplaces. So in this example, I'm going to add marketplace that is managed by Ryan Butler. He also has a session at the Citrix Converge. And he's managing the templates from a bunch of influencers and I would say the optimizer experts that we have in the field. So if you are looking for more advanced or aggressive templates, this is the perfect place to go. Now, if you have a look at how the template configuration actually works, it's very simple XML file. There is nothing really special about it. Yes, show me. And what you can see is that here is just a bunch of templates. And what is most important is that the ID of the template is matching the locally installed template. This is what we are using to check if there is new version of existing or if you already downloaded the template or you've never downloaded it before. Version is important. This is again combination of ID and version is what we are using to check if you have current version. Finally, the URL. This is the actual link to the template itself. This is where Optimizer is going to download it from. Now, in this example, this is hosted on, well, you cannot see it here, but this is hosted on the GitHub. It could be anything else. We do also support, and it's not very common, we do also support templates on the file share. So for example, if you have a look here, you can see cdz.lan. The file share is called shared. I have XML file here. This is the XML file here, so only one template. This is where you can now download it from. Now, all I need to do is that I just take this URL add new marketplace, add this XML file again on the file share. And as you can see, I have my marketplace available here. So if you are sharing this with small team, you can just host the XML file on the file share and just send the link to everyone. And suddenly you have the centralized store for all your scripts and all your templates inside the Citrix Optimizer. So that's all that I have. We went through the custom templates creation, starting from the basic, very simple modifications, going to advanced, showing different examples how to use this in PowerShell. If you have any questions, feedback, comments, anything like this, I'm always available on the Slack. You can also find me on Twitter. I'm active in communities, so I'm sure you can find me on the internets. And I hope this was interesting for you. And thank you very much for watching.